You don't think it can happen to you.
Violent collision kills 2 people outside Tampa International Airport.
An alleged road rage attack rips 3 families apart. Tonight, we're learning about the boys who were killed.
Prosecutors are going to pursue charges against people who are texting while driving.
That's right. This DUI and murder suspect could get life in prison if convicted.
You don't think it can happen to you. See, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When the sands of time will run out within your hourglass.
New at 10, a hit and run caught on video, and now a teenager and his family are looking for the driver who took off.
He was a victim of a distracted driver hitting the road while riding his motorcycle going 65 miles per hour. He nearly lost his life. Now on a crusade to help save lives and prevent someone else from becoming a victim, the creator of DistractedDriversBusted.com and now the host of this podcast, it's Howard Drescher.
All right, welcome. Welcome to another show of DistractedDriversBusted.com, the podcast show. I am your host, Howard Drescher. You can follow me on Twitter at DistractedDBTV, at DistractedDBTV, and of course on Facebook, DistractedDB. You can get the shows on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Amazon, and TuneIn. Just type in the keyword DistractedDB. Okay, so here we go. We are about to enter the 100 days of summer. With that said, there are several things going on that you should be made aware of because it's kind of important. One, kids are out driving. People that are within that school time frame of the age where they get their license, they're out there driving. Graduations are going on. This tells me that we are entering a very dangerous situation, as proven by today's show. Unfortunately, over the last couple of weeks, when schools are doing their graduations, kids are about to enter their adulthood in life. And yet, some of them will not make it. Some of your classmates will not make it through the summer. Unfortunately, it is getting more and more serious. It is inevitable that somebody will, maybe not fault of their own, but they will not make it. They will end up dying in a car crash. Those are the facts. There's nothing I can say, nothing I can do that can change anybody's mind that somebody's going to die. And it's because of something they did, something their friends did while they were in the car, or it could be they're a victim of somebody else's stupidity that either ran a red light, a DUI, hit them, crashed into them, ended up killing them. And there's a family that will suffer because of it. I am pleading with you now. I am reaching out to you now more than ever. Do not drink and drive. Look, I drive on the freeways every day. I see adults acting like jackasses and freaking fools out there on the freeway. It happens. Sooner or later, something will happen. And when it does, they're going to wish that they didn't do what they did, but yet they still did it because they thought they were cool. I got to get to my work before you get to your work. They will cut in between cars. They will ride your tailgate. Last second, pull over either to the left or to the right. Pull up in front of you and slow down. What the hell are you fucking doing? What the hell are you fucking doing? It is now to the point, it scares me to drive each and every day. And unfortunately, people are not going to make it. Somebody along the way will end up losing their life. Each and every day, somebody will lose their life, and I will guarantee you that this summer will be no exception. It has already started, and we haven't even hit the 100 days of summer. I think that's coming up in about a week or so, that when the kickoff actually starts of the 100 days of summer. I feel that this is going to be the most deadliest on the freeways. And yet, people know, don't drink and drive, don't text and drive, don't speed. Be cautious and be friendly to the other drivers on the road. They're trying to get to work or they're trying to get back home to their loved ones just like you are. And yet, somebody will not make it home. I'm doing this show today on a Tuesday. And yet, today's June 6th. And I'm doing this show at 8:40 in the morning, California time. By the time I get home tonight, and I get home pretty late, I will guarantee you, your local news will say somebody died, some student died because of this, somebody got hit and they were hit and run, they died, or they're in the hospital. It happens. What are we going to do about it? Can we stop it? I'm pleading to the parents, please, because you can rest assured that there's going to be CHP officers, if you're in California, they're going to start to be patrolling more and more. And you're hearing it from me firsthand. I'm telling you, they're going to be out and about. They're going to ensure that, one, you could probably get home at a reasonable time and very safely. But believe you me, you do some moving violation, they are not going to hesitate to pull you over. And this is coming from me because I have inside sources with the California Highway Patrol. They are not going to slow down trying to get you off the road. They don't want you to endanger your life or anyone else's life. I'm asking each and every parent who listens to the show, talk to your kids. Talk to your kids tonight. Please don't drink and drive. I have a sad story here about a teenager just down the street from where I live. He's not coming home anymore. Unfortunately, he was hit. On his way home. He was on his way home from a graduation. He just graduated about an hour or two, and now his life is over. And according to the reports, it's not his fault. But yet, you got to pay attention. You have to pay attention to the roads. You have to pay attention to the stop signs. You have to pay attention. I've seen people just run red lights. And the traffic is stopped at 2 lanes going one way. I stop because it's a red light. Somebody will come up on the right of me or to the left of me and just bullet through a red light. Luckily, no oncoming traffic from left or right. But yet, they still did what they did. But what happens if there was a car entering that intersection? Somebody's day would be totally freaking ruined. And yet, people just don't care. People don't care anymore. It's all about the me, get out of my effing way. I got to get home before you mentality. What happened to the days of enjoying driving home, knowing that you're going to be home, sitting down to that meatloaf dinner, going, yeah, I made it again today.
You're listening to the DistractedDrivers.com podcast. We'll be right back.
Honey, are you ready to go to the party? We're late. What? Yeah, don't worry. I'll be ready in 5 minutes, babe.
Really? Can you get off the phone? I'm already ready. We're going to be late.
Yeah. Don't worry. I'm almost done.
Let's go. Come on.
Oh, okay, honey. Let's go.
Can you be ready next time? I feel like I'm always ragging on you to get ready for these types of parties.
Yeah.
Isn't the man supposed to be waiting on the lady anyway?
I'm sorry, babe. I know I say this all the time, but I promise. Next time, I really promise next time I'll be ready, and I'll be ready to go by the time you get home.
Gosh.
Let me see who that is. I'm waiting to see if my friend is actually going to be at this party.
No! Leave your phone alone. You know that scared me last time. You nearly hit someone walking in a crosswalk.
What? No, you're crazy. Look, I told you don't tell me what to do. I got this.
Stop the car! Stop it now. I just can't be with someone who doesn't care about my life, not to mention their own.
Babe, wait, come back. This isn't happening, is it?
Wake up and text. Text and eat. Text and catch the bus. Text and miss your stop. Wait. Text and be late to work.
Sorry, I'm late.
Text and work. Text and pretend to work. Text and act surprised when someone calls you out for not working.
Who, me?
Text and meet up with a friend you haven't seen in forever.
Hi.
Oh, hey.
Text and complain that they're on their phone the whole time. Text and listen to them complain that you're on your phone the whole time. Text and whatever. But when you get behind the wheel, give your phone to a passenger. Put it in the glove box. Just don't text and drive. Visit StopTextsStopWrecks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Now, back to the DistractedDrivers.com podcast.
All right, welcome back to DistractedDriversBusted.com podcast show. I'm your host, Howard Drescher, the creator of DistractedDriversBusted.com. And, of course, now this podcast show. You can follow me on Twitter at DistractedDBTV, at DistractedDBTV, and, of course, on Facebook, DistractedDB. And you can get the show and all my archive shows on Spotify, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon, and TuneIn. Just use the keyword DistractedDB, and you can get all those shows. And here it is. We're about to enter the 100 days of summer. And with that said, graduations are going on. And quite honestly, to tell you the truth, I know for a fact that, some students are not going to make it home after their graduation, or shortly after that, they will end up losing their lives. Young kids today think they're invincible. I know, because I was the same way when I was 19 and I was 20, in my teens, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I thought, man, I can live forever. Nothing can hurt me. I've been bruised up before. I get back up, dust it off, and keep on going. Well, with vehicles, and you're riding in vehicles, and there's other vehicles, yeah, not so much. It ain't going to work. Injuries will happen. And then everybody goes ahead and goes, how did this happen? I don't understand how this happened. Well, quite honestly, vehicles are dangerous. And quite honestly, it really disturbs me most that I know here in California, they did away with driver education. They have driving educational schools out here, but it's not the same. To me, when I was in that classroom environment in school, and I knew my peers were doing their best to drive, pay attention, obey the rules. Put your hand at 3 o'clock, right over left when you're making turns, this and that. You stop at a stop sign, look left, look right, and then you look left again, and then you pull out. Yeah, I get that. I had to do the same thing. But these guys, they pull up to a stop sign, they stop maybe for a second, and here in California, the true sense of the word California stop applies. Wrong. It should not apply. And when it stops like that, when you stop like that and you just take off without even looking left or right, the inevitable is about to happen. There's going to be somebody driving down the road. It could be an 18-wheeler. It could be a pickup truck. It could be just a regular car. Something is going to happen. And it's not a pretty sight. And here's a story that I got from ABC 7 News out here in Los Angeles. And I appreciate them for allowing me to use the sound. Quite honestly, to tell you the truth, I don't even want to use the sound. But I think it's important to, feed into what I'm talking about when it comes to this show. Why are students driving, and why are students not paying attention, and why are they getting killed? Here's a kid, young 17-year-old, just coming home from a graduation, and next thing you know, he ends up crashing in, and it's not a pretty sight. And this happened just a couple miles from where I live at, over in Marietta, California. It is insane how this stuff is happening. Here is the story, again, from ABC 7 here in Los Angeles.
What was supposed to be a night of celebration for a group of students turned into a nightmare after a truck ran a red light, plowing into their car. Our Inland Empire Bureau Chief Rob McMillan spoke with investigators today about this tragic crash.
A horrible wreck in Winchester last night. The CHP says the driver of this black GMC Sierra ran a red light and then slammed into the side of this white Nissan Titan. Inside of it were 3 high school students on their way home from graduation. One of them, 17-year-old Giovanna Rizzo, is dead. Her boyfriend and his sister are still in the hospital.
It's sad that something tragic like this had to happen after such a great day. I mean, you finish high school and then it's just a lot.
It happened at the intersection of Winchester Road and Keller Road. All day long, friends have been coming by the accident scene to add flowers and other items to the memorial.
And they're all great people. I knew the driver and his sister best, but their whole family is very warm-hearted.
Just to give you an idea of the power of the impact, the truck that ran the red light slammed into that pole and came to rest right there. But the vehicle that it hit in the intersection didn't come to a stop until it got out into this field, crashing into that communications equipment. There's no indication at this time of drugs or alcohol playing a factor. It's possible the driver of the black truck, a 30-year-old man who is also in the hospital, just ignored the light completely.
Obviously, our investigations will determine at what level this will reach, if it'll be gross vehicular manslaughter, depending on if there's reckless driving or other circumstances that could dictate as far as the case.
People who live here say they see people running this red light all the time.
Whenever you come up to this light, you have to pause for like an extra 3 seconds just to see if anybody's going to run it.
In Winchester, Rob McMillan, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
All right, I want to thank ABC 7 for that sound. And I know Winchester is just on the other side, like the other side of the road of Marietta. And I'm more familiar with that area. And you heard the young lady right there. At that intersection, you got to pause for an extra 2-3 seconds just to make sure that you can get out without getting hit. And maybe that guy did run the red light, not paying attention. The red light, the stop sign, it was happening, and it did happen. And it happens all the time from what they indicated there. And to me, that is so disturbing that there isn't more and more deaths or crashes there. And these things are all preventable because basically all you got to do is follow the laws. When it says to stop, you stop. If it's a red light, you stop. The other people will go. You just don't try to run it. Like I said, I go to stop signs or red lights just like what that intersection is. I stop and somebody will just whisk by me either on the left-hand side or the right-hand side because there are 2 lanes going in one direction. So the 4-lane highway, 2 going one way, 2 the other. And somebody will run through. And then, of course, you're at an intersection. And when somebody's going to come out to the left or to the right, that's usually when something kind of freaking happens. And apparently it happened right there. And now a young man who just graduated high school, was ready to embark on his future, is now no longer with us. And I'm asking each and every parent out there, if you listen to this podcast show, tell other people about this show specifically. I can care less, to tell you the truth, if you listen to any more of my podcast shows. But today's show is a special show because we're talking about the 100 days of summer, graduations, and student driving. Not to mention adult driving, because apparently they are just as guilty, and the kids learn from their parents on how they drive. That is a fact. Without a driver education in school to educate these people, there's something bad that will happen. And when it happens, you get the, oh my gosh, how did this happen? I don't understand. Oh, well, then you find out, oh, well, this intersection, this stuff happens all the time. Well, if it happens all the time in that area and you know about it, contact your authorities to say, hey, how about let's see what we can do to get more lights up there or something that will indicate, hey, stop. This is a stop sign. Make sure you stop. Get the stopping lights flashing. If it's a red light, get it to last a little bit longer instead of off, on, like that. You have to do your due diligence in order to ensure that this doesn't happen. Because I have other stories, not today, but there's other stories that I look back in just a couple days on different TV stations across America, and in New York and Texas and Chicago and in Tennessee, in Florida, students died hours before. One student died, unfortunately, on the day of graduation. Unfortunately, I didn't pull up that story, but we might do that story just sometime during the summer and stuff like that. But here's the thing. I'm asking each and every one of you to let people know about this podcast show and let them listen to the audio. If you don't even listen to me, listen to the audio from the other TV stations just so they get the idea of what could happen, because they don't know. 18, 19-year-old, you're driving around with blinders on. You're just like, okay, I'm all good. Nobody's going to stop me. Nobody's going to hurt me. Because I know I was the same way when I was a kid. And quite honestly, to tell you the truth, it is very, very, very disturbing that I did what I did when I was a teenager. And I even did it when I was like 20, 22, 23 years old. But now I learned from my lesson. It was a close call. And I said, that's it after that. All right, you're listening to DistractedDriversBusted.com podcast show. When we come back, a sheriff's wife is in trouble. We'll be back right after this.
You've been putting back a few, and a few becomes a few too many. For a moment, you think about going for a ride. Nah, you live nearby. What's the worst that can happen? You get pulled over, your insurance goes up, you lose your license, you total your car, you kill someone.
There's no way you can hide it. If you drive drunk, they're gonna find you. So stop kidding yourself.
Sir, have you been drinking tonight? Sir, have you been drinking this evening?
Sir, have you been drinking tonight?
They will catch you and arrest you. Drive sober or get pulled over.
All right, welcome back to DistractedDriversBusted.com, the podcast show. I'm your host, Howard Drescher, the creator of DistractedDriversBusted.com, and of course now this podcast show. You can follow me on Twitter at DistractedDBTV, at DistractedDBTV, and of course on Facebook it's DistractedDB, and you can get the shows on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon, and TuneIn. Just type in the keyword DistractedDB. Okay, so we're moving on from actually, we would say the students of driving to an adult who probably should know more than anybody about driving and driving drunk. Her husband is a Sonoma County Sheriff. The wife was arrested on DUI charges after she crashed into a home. And if anybody knows about that, should have been her. Her husband kind of deals with that kind of stuff and other nonsense that people do each and every day. And here we are, getting ready to embark on summer. Now, there's a house that's totally destroyed. It's going to get rebuilt. And the people that live in there thinking about, hey, I don't want to live in this house anymore, based on the fact what has happened. And it could happen again. And it may happen earlier. I don't know. I'm just guessing. But here is a story from ABC7 News Bay Area. So we're up in the Bay Area for this story.
Lucky to be alive. That's how a Santa Rosa woman is feeling tonight after a car launched into her home. The driver of that car arrested for DUI.
And we've learned she's also the wife of the Sonoma County Sheriff. NBC Bay Area's Alyssa Gord is in Santa Rosa and spoke with the homeowner and her husband, who are still in shock.
I heard the revving of the engine first, and then I heard no brakes, and then I heard this crackle.
Lori Johnson says she was in her recliner watching TV just before 1 a.m. when this gray Tesla hurtled into her home, pushing furniture and glass towards her.
It's almost like an earthquake, but with concrete coming through. The 2x4s were laying on the side of me with nails. I had my knees up. I had debris. In my hair. I had sheetrock.
I hear her screaming, the love of my life.
The crash woke up her husband, Mark Johnson, who was terrified. Paramedics took Lori to the hospital to be treated for cuts and bruises. Police tell us that car traveled up Montecito. It pushed into this yard, shoving aside trees, pushing away bushes, and launching into the side of the home, which is now boarded up.
She airborne, and it was stuck. And then I saw her lights. I saw the blinkers. And I heard her.
Police identified the driver as 47-year-old Natasha Whittinghill of Santa Rosa. She was arrested for felony DUI causing an injury. Police say she has since posted bail.
We didn't find out till today about 11 that she was the wife of the sheriff. And that was pretty hard.
Sonoma County Sheriff Eddie Ingram posted on Facebook acknowledging his wife was involved in the crash. He noted as a husband, he's concerned for his wife's well-being, but said as a citizen and as a sheriff, I am also concerned about the person inside the home who suffered injuries. I understand that our community will have more questions and want answers.
We have a zero tolerance, especially when it comes to DUI collisions, and we just follow that all the way through. We just want to make sure there's no special treatment, no matter who the individual is.
Police say DUIs are fairly common, but DUI drivers hitting homes are not. Lori is now home from the hospital. She and her husband are exhausted and shaken up.
It's just dramatic. I'm a big baby when it comes to this kind of stuff.
But I think the worst part was to see the video, because I'm very lucky. If you see the inside of my house, I'm pretty lucky.
After this, they're thinking they want to move out of this house. In Santa Rosa, Alyssa Gord, NBC Bay Area News.
All right, again, NBC Bay Area News, and I want to thank them for allowing me to use the sound. Quite honestly, to tell you the truth, it's very disturbing, very, very disturbing that this kind of stuff happens. And yet, it seems like it happens all the time. And it happens with people that probably know better of having this kind of stuff happen. So I'm asking each and every one of you, pass this show on to each and everybody. Because remember, I don't want to die today, do you? And don't let anyone take the sands of time within your own hourglass. And please, let these kids graduate and move on to a successful life. And if you're a kid listening to this podcast show, you're a graduate student listening to this show, be aware and don't be foolish. Until the next show, please be safe.